Greetings, everybody, and welcome to Professional Photography Tips. My name is Josh Cripps, and you can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Joshua Cripps Photography. Today is another critique session where we're going to look at a couple of photos from the Pro Photo Tips group on Facebook, and the theme for today is contrast. Now, I apologize if I blew up anybody's eyeballs with this slide, but I wanted to make it really contrasty. So, we're going to look at a couple of images today that all deal with the theme of contrast. Now, what are the kinds of contrast that are out there? Well, there's actually a couple of different kinds. And there's three big ones, actually. One is textural contrasts. For example, you can have very soft textures against very sharp and rigid and detailed textures. That's one excellent kind of contrast. Another kind is color contrast, where you have blues against warm tones or greens against reds, like that eye-jarring slide I just showed you. And the last major kind of contrast that you can use in your photo is tonal contrast, which is light against dark, like we've got in this calla lily shot. Now, anytime you've got a subject that you really want to make stand out or you want to make your photos pop, you should be thinking about those kinds of contrast and how you can use them to your advantage. So first up, we're going to look at a shot here from Hugh Mobley. And I believe he said he took this near the Newport Pier in Southern California. And if you look at this, what kind of contrast does Hugh have going on in this image? Well, in some places, he's actually got every single one of those kinds of contrast. For example, right here, he's got all three, right? He's got light and dark. So he's got the light sky versus the dark trees. He's got textural contrast with the detailed trees against the smooth sky. And he's also got color contrast, right? He's got dark, colorless bush against a very, very colorful, saturated sky. So this works really well in this part of the image to actually bring out that tree. But what about over here in this part? You can see that the tree almost fades completely into the background. And the reason for that is because there's no contrast there. There's no textural contrast, there's no tonal contrast, and there's no color contrast. So that's why the tree just kind of fades into the background. So if you wanted to improve a shot like this, you could look and try to find some way to improve that contrast. Now, what you could do would be, instead of standing up at maybe eye level or so where you shot this hue, would be to get a little bit closer to this bush and kind of shoot up from underneath it, like this. And what that's going to do is it's going to move this bush relative to the background up into the sky like this, which is going to separate it out and give you those same kind of contrasts here on the left side as you've got over here on the right side. So that's something to think about. And as a matter of fact, without even realizing it, you may have done that. And for that, I actually grabbed a second one of your shots. Just really quickly, this is totally off the point of contrast, but we talked about this before in a preview about in a video about removing distractions from your frame. So, you know, always kind of look around the edges and make sure you don't have stuff poking in that's a little bit of a distracting element in your photo, like this corner bit here. So anyway, back to the theme of contrast. What Hugh did, he's taken a second shot here, similar location, and you can see instantly this is a much better shot. What is the reason for that? Well, it's because he's got all those contrasts going on in a very clear way, right? He's got this nice orange sand against this deep blue sky. He's got the textural contrasts of the details in a tree against the smooth sky. And he's also got the tonal contrasts of the dark tree against the bright sky. So here, instantly, this subject jumps out at me much more than in this photo. So bear that in mind as you guys go out and shoot. If you really have an interesting subject that you want to make jump out, think about those different kinds of contrasts. So nice work there, Hugh. The only thing I would suggest compositionally on this one is, because the tree is so close to the left-hand side of the frame, maybe just try to balance it out a little bit on the right-hand side of the frame. And always watch those highlights. Alrighty, for the last photo I want to get into today, it's this beautiful shot of a wolf from Emma. Now, this one already got some really nice feedback in the group about how the wolf kind of blends into the background. And that's what actually got me thinking about the idea of contrast for this video. So this looks like it must have just been such a cool experience to be this close to this, you know, beautiful animal. So I hope you really enjoyed that. As far as what you could do to kind of make this image a little more powerful is just do exactly what we just talked about. The main issue here is that the wolf kind of blends into the background. So let me add a little layer here. I can start drawing on it. You can see that there's a lot of detail here in the fur, but there's also a lot of detail kind of here in the background. So one thing you could do would be is if you used a shallower depth of field to blur out that background a little bit more, you would get more of a textural contrast. And I'll actually show you what that looks like. But first I just want to add a little bit of a curves adjustment layer. You can see that overall your histogram is biased very far to the left. So if we just slide the white point up to bring some more whites into the image and drag that curves layer up a little bit just to help the exposure of the image, you can see it's already starting to pop a little bit more. Now let's get back to that idea of contrasts. So like I said, if you could use a softer or a shorter depth of field, more shallow depth of field to get that background to blur out a little more, you would see that that wolf jump out a little bit. So I'll just do this really, really quick and dirty. If I very, very, very quick and dirty, just select the wolf here. I'm just using the lasso tool and my Wacom tablet. Now, if you guys don't use a Wacom tablet for editing, I would recommend checking them out. It makes it so much easier to make really nice selections and quick targeted detail work. Okay, so I'm going to make a selection like that on this duplicated layer, and then I'm going to go up here to Filter, and let's blur out that background a little bit with iris blur, which sort of simulates what depth of field fall off looks like. So let me blur that up a little bit more so you can really kind of get the idea of what this looks like. Pull this in. Yeah. Okay. And let me go ahead and hide that selection. So now you can see, compared to the initial shot, with that background having more of that textural, well, you know what? I didn't do a very good job of that. Let's go back to that selection. And let's do that again. Oops, I better. This is too big. It's too big. Let's bring it in. Really want all that background to blur out. Something like that. Crank it up, crank it up. This knob goes to 11. Okay, perfect. Great. Okay, now you can see really how when you blur out that background, the wolf starts to jump out a little bit more. I apologize for that quick and dirty selection. But, you know, if you're doing this in the field, you would use a larger aperture, a smaller f number to get that same kind of effect. Now, what other, we've taken care of our textural contrasts. What about tonal contrast? Could we make the background darker compared to the foreground so it jumps out? Let's see. So I'm going to reselect that same selection. I'm going to add a curves adjustment, and I'm just going to drag that down. Aha! Very cool. Now this guy is jumping out even more. I like it. And the last one, a color contrast. So let's do that same thing. Let's add a color balance layer, and I'm going to hold Alt Option on my thumbnail and drag it from here to here to get the same exact layer mask. And now the wolf has all these nice tawny warm tones in there, right? So I can make him contrast to the background if I fill that background up with blue and cyan. Something like that. Now, obviously, I'm really exaggerating this because I really just want to sort of bring out the idea of these contrasts to make your subject jump out. So we've gone from this, which is just straight out of camera, or the shot that as I got it, to this, and all of a sudden, boy, does that really leap off the page. Now, if it wasn't for my sloppy lassoing, it looks a little cut out, but that's because of that sloppy lassoing. So anyway, I hope that gives you guys a lot of ideas of things to think about when you're out in the field. If you have a really interesting subject, how can you use contrasts, textural, tonal, and color contrasts to make it stand out even more? And that oh my God, that's it for this week's video. So thank you guys very much. If you want to check out the previous critique, it was all about removing distractions. You can check that out right here. Or you can see one of my most popular videos, which is 7 powerful tips for better photos. If you like this video, please subscribe to this channel and share it with your friends. If you want a chance for your photo to be critiqued in a video, you can click right here, and that will take you to the Pro Photo Tips group on Facebook. You can join that group, get feedback from your peers. And finally, if you'd like to join my newsletter to get all kinds of great photo tips just like this, and exclusive content like assignments you can do to make your photography better, click right here. You can join the newsletter, and we'll make Pro Photo Tips the best cool community on YouTube. So thanks a lot, you guys. Until next time, have fun and happy shooting.